Hi there, welcome to this tutorial. This is Teacher Raya from Elimu Hubs Math. We're going to do two questions on completing the square. This is more like consolidation session, but if it is your first time, so please just hang out because I will explain everything that I'm going to do. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so for question 1 then, we are asked to write x squared plus 4x plus 5 in the form x plus a squared plus b, where a and b are integers. So integers, it just means the numbers are going to be whole numbers, negative or positive. Okay, so let's start. We have x squared plus 4x plus 5, and we want to write it in this form. That is a completing square form, which you need to be familiar with. So what do we need to do when we complete the square? Well, the first thing you need to be aware of, this part, the x squared, shouldn't have a coefficient of more than 1. So we can't have 2x squared, for example, or 3x squared. It should always be just x squared, and then you can complete the square. Okay, and then the next thing you really need to do is pay attention to these two terms. So the x squared part and the one with just x. The constant part, you can just leave it, don't include it in your bracketing, because that might confuse you. I've seen so many students doing mistake when they try to include the constant. So when we complete the square, we just try to focus on these two terms. Okay, that is the way I recommend. So the first thing you want to have is the bracket with the square. Okay, so we're going to open a bracket and we're going to put the square, and then we always have an x here, and the sign is from this coefficient. So we got plus 4x, that means I'm going to have a plus here. And this number here is half of this number, so half of the coefficient of x. We have a 4 there, so here comes 2. And then it's always take away this number squared. So take away 2 squared is 4. It doesn't matter what sign is here. It's just take away this number squared, and then we bring the 5 down. Okay, and now we have x plus 2 squared. Negative 4 plus 5 is plus 1. So now we know a is going to be equal to 2 and b is equal to 1. So I just want to explain. You may wonder why we subtract here this number squared. Okay, so let's say we have that bracket, x plus 2 squared. This means is equal to x plus 2 times x plus 2. If you expand this bracket, these two brackets, you will get x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. I'm assuming you know how to expand double brackets, so you get x squared plus 4x plus 4. So this part alone will give you this. Now if I want to include, remember I only considered these two things to get this bracket here. So if I don't take away the 4, then I've included this 4, and then I still have the plus 5, which will give me plus 9 as my final answer, which means I have changed my expression. So you need to get rid of this 4. That's why we do take away 4 after doing the square, the bracket. Okay, so let's go to question 2. So we're told to write 3x squared minus 30x plus 63 in the form of ax plus b squared plus c, where a, b, and c are integers. And then we need to write down the coordinates of the turning point of the graph. Okay, so that's the same as this one here. Okay, so for a then, what do we have? We have 3x squared minus 30x plus 63. So like I said before, you need just to leave this one alone. Don't include it in bracketing. Okay, and then what else do we need to do? Well, this part, the x squared part, can't have a coefficient of more than 1. So just in case you don't know what coefficient means, it's a number that is next to something. So if I say coefficient of x squared here is 3. So in order to have just one x squared, we need to factorize. So we're going to have the 3 outside, and then x squared minus that here and 3 outside, so that's going to be 10x, and then we still have our 63. Now remember, I said we need to focus on these two, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it on the side here so we get it all clear. So let's just write it down, x squared minus 10x. We're going to complete the square on this part and then bring it back here. So here comes a bracket, squared, here comes the x. What sign do we have here? Minus. So minus comes up here. And then what goes up here? Half of this coefficient of x, which is 5. What else do we need to do? The minus. Minus what? This number squared. So 5 squared is 25. So now we've completed the square for this part. We're going to bring it back here. Okay, so now we have 3. I'm going to introduce a square bracket now because we're going to have 2 brackets. So this whole part now is this one here. So x minus 5 squared minus 25. Okay, now I can close the bracket. And then plus 63. Now I need to bring back the 3. So 3 times this bracket and then 3 times this lot. Okay, so I'll have 3 x minus 5 squared, 3 times negative 25, that's negative 75, and then add the 63. Okay, so let's simplify further. X minus 5 squared, negative 75 plus 63 is negative 12. Okay, so this part is done for A. You've now completed the square. And now for part B, then we're asked to write down the coordinates of the turning point of the graph. So if we were to graph this expression, y equals 3x minus 30x plus 63 is the same as that, where will be the turning point? So what is the turning point? Well, it's where the graph would turn. So for example, if I graph like this is the turning point. So I need to find what that coordinate is. If I had it like this, that would be the turning point. Now, if I have a graph like this, sometimes you get asked, what is the nature of the turning point? If you have a graph like this, you'll have a minimum. So the turning point is a minimum. If you have a graph like this, the turning point is maximum. They're both called turning point, but that's minimum, that's maximum. Why is this one minimum? Because that's the lowest point on the graph. This is maximum because that's the highest part of the graph. Okay, and when do you get this shape? You get this shape when the x squared part is positive. So you had 2x squared, 3x squared, you'll have the U shape. You have this shape when you have the negative part of the x squared. So if you had negative x squared, negative 3x squared, and so on, you'll have a graph that looks like this. Okay, so the turning point then. So turning point is a coordinate. So you must have x and y. So the x part comes from this part. So this part here. And the y part comes from this part, which is this part. So you take the sign with you. Okay, so we have negative 5. This is where you need to be careful. For the x value, you change the sign. So we have negative 5. This will be 5. For the y part, which is this, you keep the sign. You keep as it is. So that's going to be negative 12. Okay, so that is your turning point. The number over here for the turning point, you just ignore it. That's not included in the turning point. Okay, so it's just those two values. So thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you again. Bye for now.